cause of death every year. It is estimated that 110 million people die every year as a direct result of stress. That's 7 people every 2 seconds. In my 19 years, I've learned a lot, probably more than most people my age, due to my experiences. See, from ages 9 to 17, I was severely ill, almost reaching death multiple times. If these experiences have taught me anything, it's that life is too short to stress the small things. I'd like to take a moment and tell you about a few of these things that turned me into a very easygoing person. When I was 9 years old, I killed my first deer. It had these weird little ticks all over it, so we ended up leaving it at the hunting club for another guy to have. About 2 weeks later, I got what we thought was the flu, but I never got better. I just continued to get worse and worse. About 3 months went by, and they decided that I had lupus. They started treating me with chemotherapy drugs to kill my immune system. About a year went by, and I kept visiting different doctors trying to figure out what was wrong, but they never could figure it out. I was just getting worse and worse and worse. I was forced to go to homeschooling. I couldn't go to school anymore. And for me, I was star athlete of all the little league teams in the area, and I was like terrible. So eventually one of our nurse practitioner friends asked if she could run a test for Lyme disease. And we was like, yeah, of course, go ahead. The test came back positive. That's really hard to get. Lyme disease tests don't usually come back positive. When they did, we decided to search for the best doctor we could find. She turned out to be in Kansas City, Missouri. So my mom, my sister, my grandmother, and I packed our stuff and moved to Kansas City, leaving my dad and my grandfather here to work. When I got there, we thought I'd be there for 3 months, but we ended up being there for 3.5 years without much progress. I continued to get worse and worse. I was bedbound, in a wheelchair, on oxygen 24 hours a day, and on over 100 medications just to stay alive. Ultimately, they started me on antibiotics, trying to kill the Lyme disease. Ultimately, the antibiotics was hurting me worse than they were helping me. And we realized this one day when I woke up and I was completely blind. I had a headache that was worse than you can ever imagine. As I was rushed to the emergency room, the doctors quickly realized that my intracranial pressure was through the roof. If they didn't do something quick, I would end up dead with permanent brain damage or even vision loss. So they worked quickly and they were able to save me by doing a spinal tap and relieving some of the pressure. But this experience helped me to realize that life's too short to stress the small things. You aren't promised tomorrow. Why stress over if your hair is just perfect all the time, or if your shoes match, or if your friends are fighting, or just silly little stuff? In conclusion, Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to give you a hope and a future, plans to prosper you and not to harm you." I live by this verse every day. Knowing that my future is set in stone and no matter what I do, God has a plan for me is a great comfort to me. And this, in turn, has made me a very easygoing person. Why stress the little things and end up being number 110 million and one?
Beautiful.